welcome back. I am doing part 2 of my involuntary hospitalization for my psychosis video. And so what happened after I was taken out of the secluded little ward, I was taken into a place where there were many more rooms, and there was a hallway and a recreation room, a TV room, and a dining room, and you could see the nurse's station. And there was a group in the morning, one of the group therapies, and I was eating the hospital food, which was just kind of disgusting. And I did tell them, I had the presence of mind to tell them that I had to eat gluten-free, because I suspected that wheat may have been part of my problem, because some people that have problems with wheat, it can give them other mental health problems. And I also did it because I knew if I said gluten-free, I'd probably get more meat and more delicious choices, and I just didn't like bread either, or pasta. So, no, the food was not delicious, but, you know, it was food, and I was kind of distracted with it. And they started to give me the drug Seroquel, and it made me so hungry, and I would eat everything pretty much that I was given, but it just made me, you know, for lack of a better term, a zombie. Just, I couldn't think straight, I was in a fog, I had no emotions, no emotional reactions. I kind of forgot more about Vernon, who I had been so worried about, and wanted to hold him so much. I just was completely drugged out of my mind, and they gave me 50 milligrams, maybe 100, I don't remember. Started me with 25, I think. So I was taking the Seroquel, I went to the group meeting, and I just still didn't really know what was going on. It's really unclear to me at what point in all this I stopped believing the delusions. And I was not completely healed by the time I got out. I was not kept nearly long enough, even though I didn't want to be there at all. At one point, some musicians from the college nearby came and played on a cello and some other instruments. They played Gabriel's Oboe, which is a very beautiful and haunting song, and anytime I hear it now, it reminds me of that. Kind of in a good way, because when I heard that song, something started to come back. Actually, I started to want to live again, get out of the hospital, and it kind of broke through the medicated drug fog. It's just a really beautiful song, and I play it a lot, and a lot of the times when I played it after I got out of the hospital, it would make me cry every time I heard it, because of how much it reminded me of the healing that I experienced. And it just did something to my brain. It broke through the delusions and the drugs and everything. And I didn't really talk to anyone much or make some friends, but I did talk a little bit to some people when we were sitting around at the tables, and I think I freaked someone out by talking to her, because I don't know, she was kind of upset about other stuff, and she didn't really want to talk to me. But there was an older woman who I did enjoy talking to, and she really was just, you know, being so bored and frightened, locked up in there, it was very distracting. And a couple more people I talked to, and some young women who were very, very disturbed and very just upset, I think suicidal, made suicide attempts. I talked to them. I felt like I was in a very strange, scary place full of strangers, but because I was so crazy myself, I wasn't really scared of anyone there. I was scared of the nurses and the doctors, but I wasn't scared of the patients, even the ones that seemed crazy, because I was one of the craziest patients there, I guess. In fact, I might have even been the craziest person there. I know that some people that were there weren't crazy at all. For example, this one woman was there with aphasia. She couldn't talk right because she was given a bee sting medicine that was the wrong medicine for her, that she was allergic to, and it gave her aphasia. And she was trying to tell me things, but I could hardly understand her. But I think she said something like, "I'm not crazy," and this and that. And I felt so sorry for her. I was so glad when she got to leave, because she was not insane. Her problem was caused by a mistake with the doctors. they had been treating her in the hospital, and then she was moved up to the 5th floor when she got the aphasia, and they couldn't understand her. So, what else happened? We did art in the recreation room. We made things. I made a little painted wooden bird cage, or bird house. And, of course, I thought it was like my bird cage because I was in a cage and everything meant something to me. And there were all these magazines, and I cut pictures out and made a collage. And the collage had on it people who were representing my dad and my father-in-law, and I don't really know why. And the guy who I chose to be my dad was Steven Spielberg, and the guy who I had be my father-in-law was Captain Hook from Peter Pan. I don't know which one, but one of those. I don't know what that was all about. That was just my brain and what it was doing. And, what else did we do? I had to wear the hospital gown, and then eventually they let me have some of my clothes back, I think, and that was really good. I wanted my clothes back, and I even, oh no, at that time I didn't do my own laundry, but you could even do your own laundry on the ward, and that, I went back to the hospital again later, which I'll tell you about in another video, and that other hospitalization was not nearly as terrifying. It was completely different. So I didn't know yet that I could do the laundry. And then the phone, I was allowed to use the phone to make phone calls, so I made a lot of phone calls. I called my husband many times, and called my sister, but a lot of times she didn't pick up. I don't think she picked up at all when I was there, and I would just sit by the phone so desperate, really hoping to make it through to them. And because my husband was staying at his parents, with the baby, they don't have good cell service there. So sometimes I didn't reach him, and I just desperately wanted to talk to him. And, saw the other people sitting and waiting by the phone, and really felt bad, felt sorry for them, and all the horrible food we had to eat. I felt sorry for the other patients eating the disgusting hospital food, but, you know, it's better than going hungry, I guess. A recreational therapist took us out on the sun porch, which was an enclosed place where you could go outside, sort of, because there was windows, and fresh air came in, and that was very nice and different. And she read us some things and asked us about our goals. They always ask us about our goals, and every time the nurse came in the room, she would say, having any thoughts of hurting yourself or others? And that got really old. And postpartum psychosis, you know, it's very, very bad. It's a terrible, terrible illness. It's very rare. Only 1 in 1,000 women get it. And usually they have bipolar disorder, which I didn't really have at the time. I didn't get it till after this happened. And it's the same illness that Andrea Yates had, the woman who drowned her 5 children in a bathtub in Texas. So it's extremely dangerous. And I never had any murderous thoughts or voices in my head telling me to kill anyone. So I don't feel like I should be treated like those women, you know, and maybe those women shouldn't be treated the way they are, you know, because they're ill. I don't know. I just don't know what I think of that. But I feel like I was treated like I was a danger to others, when I really think that my delusions were actually quite innocent, and I don't think they would have ended in me killing anyone. But it was probably better this way, that they were treated in the hospital. So we went out on the sun porch, and what else? Then eventually my trial came up, and my attorney was trying to get me out so I didn't have to stay longer. And I don't remember if the trial said I could leave or if I had to stay a little longer. I think they said that I could leave because I only ended up staying a little bit over a week. But no, because it's 72 hours, no, they can only hold you for 3 days. So my trial came up and it said they held me a little bit longer, so I guess I was held to 3 days. The trial ruled that I had to stay, and I stayed maybe another 4 days. Yeah, that must have been what happened, because beyond 3 days they can't hold you unless the judge rules that you have to stay. So I didn't really understand any of it. They let me out into a room that was just outside the secure locked doors, and it was this little conference room. And in that room, my mother-in-law, my mother, and my husband and the baby visited. And I was just kind of crawling around the floor like an animal. And when they gave me my baby, I just started nursing him and holding him, and just felt like I was in heaven for a minute, just being with my baby. And my mother-in-law was talking about her garden and vegetables, and she would bring me food and deviled eggs, things she had made. And that's one thing that just kept me holding on, and was so helpful, was my mother-in-law bringing me that food. And yeah, so I know that I stayed on Father's Day. I was there, and on Father's Day my dad came and visited, and my father-in-law, and of course my mother-in-law and my mother too, and they all visited, and it was kind of overwhelming, and I don't think I should have had them all visit in hindsight, but visiting hours were only between about 5 to 7 p.m. So it was only 2 hours, but I don't think I should have been visiting people. I probably should have just been trying to get well. I don't know. But they did visit with me. And my dad, though, he did really cheer me up, because he told a joke, and he told a lot of jokes. And my mom kind of looked at him like he was crazy and he shouldn't be telling jokes because everything was too serious. But I wish my mom would just not say that at all, because my dad's joke was awesome, and it really took my mind off things. He was telling about how he once broke his mom out of a hospital. And I think it was a mental hospital, but it was a hospital. So he helped her break out. So that was just really funny. And I loved hearing that. So on Father's Day, we had that visit, and got to eat the food they brought me and hold the baby, and then eventually they had to leave. And then I was talking to the psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist hardly even did anything. They're just all so useless, and I'm sorry, but my opinion is, I think the psychiatrists, psychologists are just quacks. They're so useless. They never helped me, hardly with anything. I've had nothing but bad experiences with them. The only good experiences I have are with the naturopath, natural psychiatrists, things like that. But anyway, the psychiatrist told me one thing that was, I guess, nice. He said whatever's best for the mother is best for the baby, and that's pretty much the only thing he said. And they said I had to change my diet and eat healthy and eat brown rice and stay away from foods I'm allergic to, and eat fatty fish and blueberries and good brain foods like that. And I need to get plenty of sleep and have very low stress, and that all was very important for me when I was recovering. So yeah, it was just a cold, dark, empty place, and I just was so glad to be out of there. And then they finally gave me my discharge paperwork, and I'm trying to think, so at what point did I lose the delusions? I mean, by the time I was leaving, I wasn't really that delusional, but I don't really know at what point they went away. And at one point, I was on the phone with my husband at the hospital, and I was just completely delusional, telling him that he said he was driving a truck, and we had a black truck and a red Jeep at the time, and I thought that this somehow symbolized, the red Jeep symbolized Jesus' blood, and he had to go through the blood, and the black truck symbolized hell because it was black. So I said, no, don't drive the black truck, you need to drive the red Jeep, you need to go through the blood for salvation. The symbolism and the religious symbolism was just completely delusional in my mind, and he was upset because I was so delusional, and I just was completely in another world. So I'm telling you things a little bit out of order here because I don't quite remember everything. So yeah, I'm trying to think. The nurses were not really that friendly. No one was really very kind. At least they weren't giving me Haldol shots anymore because I was acting more docile. So finally I was able to leave the hospital, and they gave me discharge paperwork and prescription for Seroquel, and I was still a mess for a long time after I got out, and I'll talk about that more later, about what happened when I got out, and tell you about my other hospitalization. So that was my involuntary hospitalization for postpartum psychosis, except they call it psychosis unspecified because 4 months after having a baby, they don't consider postpartum psychosis. They just consider it psychosis unspecified. And they never told me what caused it, and they didn't know what caused it. I still don't know. Of course, it could have been hormone shifting, which is what I think, because there's a real big hormone crash after you have a baby. And that could have caused it in its entirety. And it was just the most terrifying thing of my entire life. Scariest thing, and I just have never been the same since. I'm doing a lot better now, but I think I'm gonna see what it's like, you know, after telling this, because I think that it's hard on me to talk about it, and it takes something from me. I don't know, it just messes me up somehow. So, but I really wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to get it out there, and when I do post this, it will be when I'm ready. And thank you, everyone. Goodbye.